Welcome to Lights in the Night, the show that is exploring the unknown one light at a time. Hosted by Russ Johnson, Dana Sardano, and Max Duckworth. We're talking UFOs, alien life, and the mysteries of the cosmos. Is anyone out there? We're looking for answers. Come join us. The lights are on and the night is calling. Lights in the Night. It's time to shine a light on the darkness. Welcome back to another episode of Lights in the Night. We have a very special episode today. We're doing an hour-long special. We are joined in the studio by Wendy Becerra, and we have Gardenia on the line who called in last week. And so what are we going to talk about today with everybody?
Well, Gardenia will inform us about the nice esoteric part that many people don't want to talk about. She's going to bring us up to speed, and Dana's going to help us. And thank you, Wendy, for being here. I really appreciate this.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Wendy, before she gets on, what is your claim to fame for many people who don't know you?
So I guess that you would call me a Jill of all trades in a sense in the spiritual realm.
Right.
That would be the easiest way to say it. So I speak to alien people, or I would say multidimensionals. I'd rather call them by.
Okay.
So multidimensionals, angels. I receive message from ancestors, from the grandmothers. So I get messages from pretty much everywhere.
Wow.
So
Do you do readings?
I do readings. I make artwork, grids, and that kind of thing to activate. I'll receive channeled messages from.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
so
awesome. Thank you very much for being.
Thank
How
you.
people can get in touch with you? We will run an hour, but if you want to.
So they could find me on my website, Holistic Blessings. That's with the W.
Great.
.com, and I also have my information there. You can reach out and call me by the phone and whatnot.
Excellent. Appreciate having you.
Thank you.
And
Thank
you're
you.
local to Florida.
Yes,
Okay,
I am
Florida.
local to Florida, West Palm Beach area.
Oh, Dana. So that's just your friend. Yeah. Okay, so she helps you. Yeah. Oh, good. Okay, good. So we're gonna have a good discussion. Let's get the young lady on. She's been waiting up for us. Hello. Can you hear me?
I
She's gonna
can
call
hear
in.
you fine. Can you
Can you hear her?
me?
We'll get.
I can't hear you at all.
We're gonna get the volume.
Oh, the volume. Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
She was with us
Okay.
last week, and a lot of people have a lot of questions about what she was
Nice.
talking about, the
Nice.
esoteric part of her life. Can you hear me?
I
Hello.
can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
Okay.
there we are.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Oh, great.
Gardena.
Thank you for
you have-
inviting me.
And you have a lot of information that will help all of us to understand all of this a little bit better. And thank you for the program that you did last week. A lot of people wanted to hear everything that you said, and they have a lot of questions of you. So why don't you take 5 minutes and tell us the essence of what you're going to talk about, and Dana and Wendy and my friend here will ask you very clear. Max, she's going to help you. Go ahead. Start.
Wonderful. I am delighted to be here, and I'm happy to answer any questions that I can. And maybe Wendy has heard of this experience where you're all alone and suddenly you are in a kind of rhapsody of bliss and pleasure. You have no idea what's going on, but you feel very safe. You feel very comforted. And this sort of euphoric energy continues for a while, and then you feel like your whole life is changed from it. And it's, I'm hesitant to use the word like a full body orgasm, but that's sort of what it is, except that nothing on the earth plane can even come close to it. And I don't, maybe Wendy has some background, or ask me any questions.
Okay, let's when we talk about that part of being a seed sharer, if you will, for lack of a better word, a breeder, because there are some breeding people who are chosen to seed this planet and other planets in the universe, right?
Yes.
For people who don't know
Yes.
this. And
Right.
that brings forth the indigo and the crystal kids and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Wendy.
Yes.
have you ever met, in addition to that experiences that you've had and your friends, have you met any hybrids lately in your lifetime that you
Actually,
know of?
I have never met, but if we want to expand that term a bit and realize that maybe these people in the project or the program of the breeding program may not be giving birth to arms and legs hybrids. They might be giving birth to, and this is my experience, to new ideas and a certain strength, awareness, and wherewithal to follow through with a lot of the things that we know are fabulous for our lives, but didn't know we really had the wherewithal, because it does feel, since that experience, I am giving birth to ideas. I wrote a book anonymously.
Okay.
And so that's why it feels like I don't know any per se hybrids. I did see a picture of a beautiful boy that is a hybrid, but I haven't actually met any, and I do think that it can be beyond giving birth to a physical being.
Okay, Wendy.
Yes, so two things. The first thing, what you're describing, what we would put words to would be Kundalini opening. All righty. So it's a
Actually, I've
Kundalini.
had the Kundalini opening. I've had the Kundalini opening, and I have been a yoga instructor and a teacher of teachers for 40 years. And I can promise you, it is not the Kundalini experience.
Well, I want to say that it's in the same realm energetically.
It could be, except when I had my Kundalini experience, each one of my chakras and their colors were activated and strengthened, and it was up my spine from the sacral, then to the regenerative, and, all the way up to the crown. And there is a sort of pulsating, it feels like an autonomic nervous system response that actually I went through, and it was much longer. It lasted for hours. And it wasn't as joyful. It wasn't as ecstatic. It did not give birth to the wherewithal to follow through with many of the higher esoteric understandings that I had been learning all these years.
Gardenia, last week when we spoke, and I told you about a friend of mine that had a similar experience while doing psychedelics, while doing mushrooms. But for time's sake, and just because the conversation didn't go in that direction, I didn't share like a personal experience I had, but I have had a few experiences in my dream state, because for me, that's where all the magic happens, and where I have similar to what you're discussing. And I'm going to try to explain this in a way that isn't dirty, so just do your best to read between the lines. I can feel the energy coming up through, we'll call it my sacral chakra, and coming up through that way. And there's an explosion and expansion of energy as if I was, let's just say, sneezing, but in my nether regions, but internally. It's like, and every time I would have those dreams, it wasn't like your typical, again, the dreams that that people want to have and talk about. I always woke up understanding that it was energetic and that it was some sort of activation and expansion. And what you mentioned, just to circle back to what you're saying about a birth of new ideas and expansion of consciousness, my words. So I would wake up understanding that was part of my expansion, and then I saw the world differently because of that experience. That's as close as I can get to what you're talking about.
Yes, and if I could.
That's awesome. That's
awesome. You're telling me.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It feels different, but all of these things are in the same category, like you said, the Kundalini. And then, now I was not dreaming. I was wide awake. I was not even close to dreaming. But everything else you say, the birth of new ideas and the great feeling. Now, there was no sensation of a sneeze. It was mostly a sensation of waves of euphoria moving through my body, mainly the sacral region, but nothing like a sneeze. But hey, I'll take whatever I can get.
Exactly. So that's what we would say would be like a portal opening inside your being. So it's the marriage or the connectivity between the light frequencies that are coming in as well as the physical. So it's our physical coming online and joining in with what we're getting energetically. So it's the merge. So it's kind of like a kundalini, but to the 1,000th power. I use the word kundalini because it's something that most of us could, associate with. It's a deeper knowing. It's a deeper connection from yourself into the higher frequencies, those fourth and fifth and sixth and onward dimensions and whatnot. So, yeah.
Yes, and the two other people, once I told them about my experience that had it, they described exactly what I'm saying. There wasn't a sneeze, it wasn't kundalini, and only one of them in her younger years had done the mushrooms and the psychedelics and had experiences, but she said nothing to the extent of the joy and the pleasure, like you are flying out of your body and you are in a sort of heavenly realm, although most of us don't associate heavenly realm with this huge orgasmic sensation.
Yep.
The sneeze.
The sneeze. I had a full body orgasm or, kundalini awakening in the park. And that was like, it stopped me dead in my tracks. I was standing up and I couldn't believe I literally stood there. And it was like for like 5 minutes, I just kept getting this rush, one right after the other, other. Yeah. And after that, it felt like something woke up, something connected in a deeper way.
Yes.
And I walked on the earth through that park different from that moment on.
Yes. I agree with you, and would you say there is a criterion for anybody to be able to experience this? Because my feeling is there's no creed or color that would matter. There is no, religious or spiritual affiliation that they wouldn't care. But there may be some criteria. Do you think there is?
So I believe that it's where our frequency shows up. The authenticity, the amalgamation or the culmination, I should say, of your frequency, your authenticity, where your being is. Yes. So that's what opens it up.
The culmination, yes.
So
I think you're right. The culmination, like I said.
We've been talking about this for 13 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? This is UFO 101, right?
Yes.
Great subject, except that most of us that are not holistic practitioners who are listening, could you clarify some issues for me? For those people who are basic like me?
Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
So what I would say is we have different apparatuses. And for most of us who are contactees and abductees and these kinds of things, these are how do we say, we use the microphone, and somebody might call it differently, but it's still a tool for us to communicate. So these types of things that we're talking about with the kundalini and all of these things, it's what the esoteric and the metaphysical people understand, and there may be different verbiage for what the same thing is happening for the abductees. It's the same thing, but we may use different mouth sounds or different words to mean that particular thing. I think that we're in essence saying the same thing, but based on our perspectives of how we perceive it is the language that we're going to use.
I see. Go ahead. Saying something?
Well, so I feel like last week, Gardenia, you mentioned a little bit like there was a sort of entity present, and I'm really interested in knowing more about if you have any
For visitation?
Well, when she was.
I'm just kidding.
What I can say very briefly about that is for 3 of the beautiful experiences, and they were all exactly alike, and there was no entity that I could see or feel or touch, but there was a presence that I noticed. And then on the 4th encounter, I felt as though there were arms, there were legs. I could almost make out a face. It looked like a very young, with a more rounded face of a Martin Sheen type. And it was not the ecstatic experience, but it was a comforting, soothing closeness, connection. And when I talked to my friend about it, she said, well, that cannot be Cosmic Casanova. That's got to be one of his apprentices.
Do you mind if I just chime in for a
No,
second?
no, go right ahead, please.
I just want to chime in because again, you mentioned if you're not a holistic practitioner, can you like bring it down a little bit?
Right, thank you.
One of the things that I think is important for everybody to understand, we are all energetic. Like everything is energy, and we are all energetic beings, and we all operate in certain frequencies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you hear stories throughout time about an incubus or a succubus,
Mm-hmm.
and they come into the night, and these demons, so to speak, come and they have their way with you, right?
Right.
And what I believe is, as Earth's frequency raises, and as each individual of the humans' vibration elevates, it's the experience you have. So Gardenia was in the jungle. Clearly, she is connected. She talked about her yoga experience and her understanding and all of that. So she's going to have these high vibratory, kundalini-like, just to use the language, experiences. Others are having experiences that are a little bit denser, a little bit darker, but it's all the same because these beings are of extraterrestrial origin or different realms. It's just there's a lot of overlap. And I think the listeners need to understand that, like Wendy said, we're all putting our own language because our own frame of reference. But really, that's Gardenia, right? Are you nodding in approval? You're hearing what I'm saying, right?
Oh, absolutely. I know that you are right because everything is energy. And where are you in your energetic vortex, your quantum field? And that is going to be what will determine your particular experience.
Amen.
Yeah,
Ding,
what kind of, and you know what's interesting also, we all have a baseline vibration, but depending on, you may have a dip, you may not be sleeping, you may not be eating right, you may be dealing with trauma, and whatever it is you align with, you know, in that experience, you may have a dark, and I'm not trying to scare anybody, but you may have something denser or darker come in. It's really a mirror and a reflection of what you need to do for you.
1,000%.
And another thing, when we have like when the ETs, because there's a lot of disclosure stuff. We're at the cusp. It's already showing itself. Every human being's experience and how they receive the information of what's going on in the world is going to look different. Those who live in fear, those who buy into what the news is saying, those who have bought into Hollywood's stereotypical representation, they're going to see it. And the rest of us are going to be like sneezing our faces off. We're going to be all, you know, feeling the energy. And right? Russ, it's gone off the rails.
That
He
is
says gone.
Okay. For people who are novice about all of this.
Yeah, I thought that was helpful. No,
No, sure.
helping.
But there are a lot of novice people who would say, I say 60, 70, maybe 80% of the population say they don't believe any of this.
Yeah.
They don't even believe that aliens are possible, right?
This is true.
And so when you say aliens are here, or they made us, or they seeded us, or whatever, they visiting us on the planet, they don't even believe any of what we are saying.
No. So we have
How can we help them?
Exactly.
Okay.
Well-
How can we help those people?
Yeah. So go ahead, Dana.
No. I didn't know. I heard Gardenia, but go ahead, Wendy. Take the floor.
So what I was going to say was, I hear what you're saying,
Right.
and I believe that the assistance that we're being received by these multidimensionals will meet us where we are at. That
point.
being said,
yeah.
there are a number, and this isn't to like to peg anybody specific. While we're doing this, and while you have your listeners, and they're all on different areas in the spectrum of their belief and their understanding, there's a level of a certain amount of humanity that is here that, I want to call them NPCs, non-player characters. So while we're going around doing our thing and elevating ourselves and helping others to also elevate and have an understanding of these beings that are here for us, there are certain ones that are just meant to be kind of placekeepers in a sense. So they can potentially throw things off for ourselves. So you may see in your group of people that you're able to have dialect and conversation about these things with some people, and others can't receive that word, but then comes along
Yes.
somebody else who's in their frame of reference, in their frequency, and could perhaps speak to that. I also find that when it's
Yes.
finally your turn for the switch to be flipped, you'll meet there. They will meet you halfway.
Yeah.
So,
Oh.
and they're here regularly. Speaking here in the studio, there's a number of beings here with us.
Oh, I see.
Archangel Michael, there's a
Yes.
bunch of archangels who
Yes.
we could also say that there are multidimensionals. So we might call them
Yes.
archangels, we can call them demons, we can call them ghosts, or to what Dana said, succubus and all of that. They are multidimensionals by definition.
Yes.
But you know that for a fact.
Exactly.
Yes.
Wow.
Because of, that's a very good question, thank you for asking. There's a frequency. We know when we're in the same room. It's like when you walk into a party, and this is just about anybody. We've all been in a situation where we've walked into a party, or we've walked into the supermarket, and something just feels off. You get what I mean? That
Right,
feeling of
exactly.
feeling off can be by our own self, that we're not resonating with the area that we're in. Beings bring in their own frequency. Beings bring in their own frequency. So one being like our own individual meter, as one would say, we could feel it. You'll sense it. It's something that that'll be sensed.
But there are a lot of people
Yes.
who haven't gone through your experiences or Dana's experiences. Or
Right.
what do you say to those people? How do you help those individuals?
I've found that
Since
in
we
a-
all growing.
I
And we
know,
all students
totally
here.
get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Totally get what you're saying.
How can you help them?
So I found that there's been just conversating and just holding your space. I found that go ahead.
In some books, some television programs, some other programs, what kind of research should they be doing? Because they hear you and say, well, they may be telling the truth, but I haven't had any of those experiences. So how can they come up to speed to catch up with where you are?
So I would say start off easy. Pick an entry point that resonates. We were name dropping a little bit before the show. Bob Lazar,
Okay.
Dolores Cannon. Look into some of these works and find who resonates. Because Dolores Cannon might resonate for me, but my next door neighbor may not, but will resonate with what Bob Lazar is putting down. So if I find that the entry point is curiosity, that's where it's at. And the curiosity is by both sides. Some people who are listening, they are curious. So this is the seed that opens up the door for them.
Yeah.
And so then from there, they might want to hear maybe Dana's work, your work. So they'll be curious at the entry point. And this work is not for everybody. This language is not for everybody. Everybody's got an entry point. So this is where Aristotle says, know thyself.
And that's where I come in.
Right.
Yeah.
I
Know
do
thyself.
think that there is a presence. Yes, I can sense the presence where you are of the angels, and I also feel without a person's interest, like you said, the curiosity, without some motivation to want to find out for themselves if what we're saying has any validity. There has to be the impetus of themselves to search. And if they do begin to search, because I love Dolores Cannon, that's a great place to start. I agree. And if they aren't interested in that, they may be the kind of person that there's an expression. To the wise, no evidence is needed. To the unwise, no evidence will suffice. So if they want to be helped, they're asking, help me understand this more, because I don't really buy into that. And then
1,000.
you could start with you could start with something very simple, in my opinion, is how about gratitude? Start with feeling grateful for what you do have. Put your attention on appreciation for what is good in your life. Now, that's going to make your whole life better. That's going to keep your focus, and I call it conscious thought.
Yes.
Keeping your conscious thinking is super important. So now you're consciously, instead of looking at what isn't right in your life, because that's only going to make it expand. We know that what we focus on is going to be amplified. So start to focus on what is good in your life. Because if I had to name the common denominator between the three people, and we communicate often, and we've had this experience with who we call Cosmic Casanova, the real common denominator, the criterion, seems to be gratitude. You know, we were so grateful when this happened. We thought, okay, for the rest of our lives, we are thrilled. So now we three were grateful. Do you think an entity that might be having joy and unspeakable euphoria on another plane all the time wants to be with someone that wouldn't be grateful? Of course not. I don't think so. I don't want to be, you know. Okay, so if gratitude could be just the first step, whether they meet the Cosmic Casanova, the Kundalini experience, or the wonderful sneeze, or whatever it is, that doesn't matter. Their life will improve. And if they can be more loving as human beings with a conscious focus on how to be more loving, because I don't think these experiences that are super euphoric, that give you a sense of completion and fulfillment, will happen without a loving heart, gratitude, and the sensation of feeling safe, that we are the champions of our lives. We have courage. Because if this being from another world wants to give us this beautiful experience, and we're looking over our shoulder and thinking, oh my God, what's going on? That being is going to vanish instantly.
Gardena, let me ask you a question. You've been working
Yes.
in this field of helping people to understand chakras and all that for 40 years? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
40 years. How can you help new people, people who are just awakening as a starseed, to begin to understand the essence of what you're talking about? What kind of materials, who would you reference? Who would you tell them to go?
Oh, I can name so many. In the 60s,
name
I
some.
started with Alan
Name
Watts.
some. This is
Alan
101.
Watts is a good one.
Yeah, Alan Watts is a good one.
Yeah.
Alan Watts started me on this. Then I read everything Aldous Huxley wrote, everything. And that was, 40 or 50 years ago. So this was a pretty good reference point for me. And then I feel Eckhart Tolle has a lot to offer, and he's one of the modern ones.
Edward Tolle.
And Eckhart Tolle, I think, has a great deal to offer from my point of view. If you ever read the works of my greatest teacher, her name is Mira Alfassa, and she's written hundreds of books under the name of lovingly being called the Mother. Now, yes, she has been one of my greatest teachers, if not the greatest teacher. And I will tell you something that seems to be probably unusual for most people, but a book that changed my life about 25 years ago was called The Ringing Cedars series by Vladimir Magray. And they're very down to earth, and they're no big esoteric thing. His name is Vladimir Magray from Russia. He is now the best-selling author from his Ringing Cedars series, and they've even developed in Russia what is called a garden day, where everybody gets off work and they go work in their garden. And it was a huge shift for me, these books around a goddess that is still alive, living in the taiga forest. And so much of it is down to earth for the new person, or going to YouTube and just looking for a chakra activation video. And it could be 3 to 5 minutes, and then it could start to open your receptors so your antenna is available to receive the highest, brightest, best part of yourself, which is really what it's all about.
You know, I agree with you, Gardenia. And, you know, the one thing that I'm noticing in all these conversations that we've had from week to week, and now with you and with Wendy, is there's a tremendous overlap between the what people will consider the spiritual or the new agey and the extraterrestrial stuff, because there is such an overlap. And for me, and I talked about this in one of my writings, is that I stumbled across something on the internet about that Abraham Hicks, which is a channel. Right?
Okay.
Right.
I love that. I love that.
But when I stumbled across it, I was like, who's this Abraham Hicks? And I researched it, and it called for me. So, Russ, you're saying, what can people research?
fabulous.
What can people research?
Right.
Find something that sparks you, the curiosity that Wendy said, and it will
Yes.
take you, because it took me to Abraham Hicks, took me to Dolores Cannon,
Yes.
took me to everything.
Okay.
I
Yes.
couldn't get enough,
Excellent.
and then it
Okay.
exploded from
Oh,
there.
what
and I think
about the
that's your
movie,
answer.
The Secret?
Yeah, that's fantastic. Let me take a
Abraham
break.
Hicks?
One second, Gardenia. We got to
Yes.
take a break.
I'm going to take a break right here.
Sure,
Let me
sure.
come right back and continue this conversation. But it's excellent information, and I thank for the instructions of all of this. This is Lights in the Night. I'm Russ Johnson, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Lights in the Night is brought to you by Super Patch, revolutionizing wellness through cutting-edge neurotech patches that help you feel, move, and live better. Whether you're seeking improved balance, energy, or overall well-being, Super Patch has a solution for you. For more information, call 561-302-2588 or visit us online at ufo.superpatch.com. Take the first step to a better you with Super Patch.
We're back, and the night is getting darker.
The lights are still on, and the truth is waiting. Stick with us.
More mysteries, more lights in the night.
Welcome back to Lights in the Night. We are having some fun conversations with Gardenia on the line and Wendy here with us in the studio. And so we were talking about different literature and books and resources. And so I wanted to mention I just started reading 10 Recommendments by Dana.
Oh, yeah?
And because you're talking about going to the material that calls out to you.
Okay.
And I just feel like I have some work to do to clear out some personal baggage that needs to be dealt with before my mind will be open enough to.
Well, you're relatively new at this.
Yeah.
How do you look at all of these?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I just feel like myself and other people might have a lot of stuff in the way, beliefs that are wrong, and I'm trying to get the clutter out of the way. And I want to know if you think that that's going to help.
Max, I got to tell you, I'm so glad you're bringing this up, because I think what people don't realize, and I mentioned the overlap between the understanding and the connecting of, light beings and extraterrestrials and the spiritual part of it, but there's also such an overlap between personal empowerment and spiritual development. It's where you fall on the spectrum. So if the frequency of spiritual development, being able to connect with these entities and connect with higher vibrational beings, because that's what they are, the ability to do that comes from clearing out the gunk. And I wrote these books. I wrote this trilogy it's called 10 Recommendments for Personal Empowerment, which helps you clear out the gunk. Beyond the 10, Decoding the Woo-Woo helps you understand the spiritual/extraterrestrial component. And then you've cracked the code, the woo is you, and you really want to raise your vibration. And I just want to bring Wendy into the fold, because Wendy is a brilliant, gifted energy worker, crystal medicine woman. She's got shamanic stuff. She does readings. Like, she's just amazing. I know Wendy for years, but she had been working very much with the ancestral stuff and helping people with her own healing and helping people with their healing. But she just had a breakthrough, raised her vibration, and now she's connecting. This is just in the last couple of days with all these extraterrestrials, these higher vibratory light beings. But it was only because she had to clear out her gunk. So you keep asking the question, what do you say to the people who don't believe? Well, you say to them, well, what do you believe?
How would they get in contact with you? You can help us.
Yes, absolutely. This is what I do. This is what I'm here on this planet to do.
Let's run that for me.
So
Again,
to really go off of what Dana's saying, it's that it actually is what it is. It's what she's saying. We need to end. Our entry point is wherever we're at. That's where our entry point is. So I could tell somebody to go and read Dolores Cannon, but if they don't, it's to your point, if they don't resonate, they're not going to be able to understand that. But if they come in, say maybe at the chakra level, maybe the chakra thing is not for them neither. Yeah. Maybe it was just that they were sitting by their pool and all of a sudden some idea came in, or maybe some goosebumps came in. That's their entry point. So it would be very unwise for me to tell somebody, come in at the spot where I'm at. I can't tell somebody to come in calculus if they're at a grade 1 reading level. It's not, or mathematics level. Right. Yeah. So that's the entry point. That's the invitation.
The entry point is very often what they call a dark night of the soul. People have near-death experiences, or a really crappy thing happens, or they realize, oh my God, my life can't suck any more than it does. Let me make some changes. And in doing that, they raise their vibration. I know, I'm so eloquent, Gardenia. Yes. You got to get to know me. I'm a delight. But when things are really, really terrible and they have to address, like somebody has a heart attack. Well, why do they have a heart attack very often? Because they're eating crappy. They have stress in their life. Their job is terrible. And then they look and they address those things, and then all of a sudden their vibration, they don't know they're doing this, their vibration raises, and then they have an experience, and then their awareness expands, and they see things a little differently. Then somebody comes into their life that they might not have aligned with before, who brings new energy and brings new life, and then they expand again. That's why we're all here. We all somehow aligned with one another, and we're better off for it. And that's what happens.
And the excitement about it. There's more of a magnet that pulls you in. You're like, I want more of this. This resonates. You feel it at a cellular level.
Okay, Gardini, you want to say something about that? Go right ahead.
Well, I want to totally confirm that Esther with the Abraham Hicks is awesome, and she is still a great teacher for me. And there was a movie that she was in with a number of other people that is called The Secret, and The Secret is kind of a good starting point for those people that are finding that interesting. And yay for Abraham, yay for Esther Hicks. Now, I have a little bit different perspective or different approach. I haven't spent a whole lot of my life clearing out wasn't good, clearing out the things that you were talking about, gunk and all of this. Now, that may be great for another person. I have a different approach. If my hand is full of, let's say, a handful of mud, while I'm looking at the mud and thinking, I've got to get rid of this mud. Now, what am I going to do? In the moments that I'm focusing on what I'm getting rid of, in my understanding, I'm only amplifying the mud. Yeah. My understanding is, open your hand, let the mud flow through it, and keep your focus on the light and the loving energy and the gratitude and the feeling of being the champion of your life. Because if you spend so much of your time trying to get rid of what isn't good in your life, you don't step into the place of being the hero of your own reality.
Yes.
Okay, I would ask then, of any of you, what movies, what television programs, what other names besides Dolores Cannon or Bob Lazar or Stephen Greer or Billy Carson? I would ask you, give us some other information that is kind of familiar to her, like
Here's-
Abraham, Esther, and Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
Give us some, Wendy.
Go ahead, Dana.
There is a movie. There's a movie called Panspermia by Melody Sheep. It's pretty advanced, but it could maybe open the door. The secret would be a little bit more at the base level. Okay, what the bleep do we know? We know that's a fabulous movie that can get you started.
I love
Gaia.
that,
those are
Gardenia.
some
I
of the
love
ones-
What the Bleep.
Yes.
What
Yes.
the- I love
What the bleep do we know?
I
Yeah.
hope. Yeah, what the bleep do we know? That's a really good place to start. That's a kind of beginning movie to get you going, I think, like The Secret. And then more advanced would be, has anybody ever heard of Melody Sheep, Panspermia?
I think it sounds familiar to me, but it's not something that I've recently watched.
Even anything on Gaia.
I
Yeah.
think
Okay. Beyond Belief. By George
Anything-
Beyond
Murray.
Belief, yes.
How about anybody want to do any
Okay.
research about and Google Art Bell?
Art Bell's another
Coast
one.
to
Yes.
Coast.
Yes.
He did extraterrestrials and phenomenon,
Yes.
And he had
And
millions of
Bashar.
listeners in
We love
1970.
Bashar.
Bashar.
Bashar, yeah, Bashar's
Elizabeth
great.
April.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I noticed?
Awesome.
You know what I noticed? And I noticed like all these people that we've named for me at different aspects or different points in my whatever
Journey.
we'll call it development.
Yeah.
It's different ones resonated. So at one point, Abraham Hicks, that was like my entry point.
Yep.
And now I'm like, eh.
Yeah.
And at one point, Bashar, I couldn't get enough.
Yeah.
And now I'm like,
then,
eh. So
Yeah.
really, to the people,
Yeah,
it's
I
really
get it. I get it. Yes.
yeah, it's really what is calling to you. What
Yeah.
is there's got if it's calling to you, then it's your soul's way of saying, okay, I'm ready for this.
Yeah, and there's
Yeah.
no wrong answer.
Yeah.
I mean, this is free
No,
will.
and
So,
we keep moving up.
yep.
We keep moving up. One thing was it was everything, and then we go, and yeah, because that means we are ready. Our vibrational frequency is now at a higher level to be able to contain more. It's sort of like circuitry. If you put too much electricity through a certain wire, it will break the wire. But we're building our wires stronger, and now we can hold more of this
Yeah.
fabulous electricity.
Yep.
And I have friends. My friend Anne Marie. I've talked about her before. She channels all sorts of light beings and angelics and all that. And from the time I met her, she used to channel extraterrestrials, and they would help. Like she would channel the energy, help with healing stuff, clear spaces, and do even medical stuff. And another friend of ours, Teresa, the same. And I noticed as they evolved as humans, because this is for years now, the extraterrestrials that would bring in and assist them were of higher frequency. So we think, extraterrestrial, higher frequency, but there's higher frequencies in the extraterrestrials. And there were things there were beings that they would bring in that were like, I remember I was going through some medical stuff a few years ago, and they came in to assist. And even Anne Marie was like, oh, this is new. Like, this is real hot. Like, this universe is so, and the dimension is so freaking vast. Like, we can't even begin to fathom.
True.
This
It's
is correct.
crazy,
No.
and it's cool, and it's and the humanity's acknowledgement of it is exponential daily of the amount of people that are becoming open to it because of what's going on in social media. That you're getting,
Of
people
course.
are offering their stories because people are becoming more feeling safe to do so, and videos and things like that, and it's getting into our consciousness that this is a possibility. And oh my God, you could see, Gardenia, can you hear me?
excited.
I'm like coming out of my seat. I'm so excited.
Oh.
It's like-
I love it.
Yep.
It's exciting. And I would encourage everyone, even though it may not work for everyone, I would still encourage everyone to see if they could sit quietly in a room with no technology, no TV, unplugged, sit quietly for just 5 minutes. Can they open their mind and their consciousness and just maybe watch their breath or just watch what thoughts come up? Because if they can sit for as little as 5 minutes, they will hear where their next step is. They will feel what they are guided to do to grow and learn, the book to read. But it really needs to come through a quieting of our lives for even 5 minutes.
Yes.
1000%.
That is the answer.
When I look at
That's the answer.
Dolores Cannon or Gillian Green or Elizabeth April, whatever, whomever. There are many, Laura
Yeah.
Eisenhower, there, Lyndon Newton Howell, and on and on and on. People who have a lot of information. They started a long time ago.
Yes.
And obviously, Wendy, you started a long time
Yeah.
ago.
Yes.
Tell us
Yeah.
your experiences. How did you start, and why did you jump into this field at all?
So from childhood.
Well, is that long?
Oh my goodness. My parents, when back in the day, we remember the show In Search of.
Yeah.
That was my jam. The from the beginning theme music that started, I was in front of that TV. Anything that had to do with Bigfoot, the pyramids, the Bermuda Triangle, especially the Bermuda Triangle, I was fascinated. And the more that I understand is everything is a portal. We talk about energies. So when we talk about multidimensionals and whatnot, they are traveling through portals. Dana has a portal right behind her house in the preserve that's right behind her house.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yes. And so they come through there. I have
Wonderful.
had clients where I've had to close up the portals because the beings that were coming through were so disruptive to them.
Yeah.
And some of them were not beneficial. Some of them were
We had a
beneficial.
portal at the gallery too. We
Yes.
had all sorts of stuff coming through there.
We mean the gallery at the mall?
Right.
No, I used to own an art gallery,
Oh,
Intuitive
I
Lounge,
see.
and Wendy. That's what Wendy and I did most of our work there.
Our work there.
And there was a portal, and all sorts of
All kinds of spirits. Some of
Craziness.
them spirits that were lost trying to find their way to the light.
Wow.
Beings that were coming to help us, and they were offered. Archangel Metatron was there. Now, one of the things that I do want to make a highlight here, when we think about extraterrestrials or aliens or whatever type of words, we're thinking arms, legs.
Yes.
Some of these beings come in and all they are is frequency.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you may see flashes of lights,
Right.
especially that's the way Archangel Michael will show up, flashes of blue light, knowing. So this is why, again, it goes full circle to know where your entry point is. So that's for your listeners who are like, I don't believe, but I want to find an entry point. What do you believe? And go in through that entry point.
Right.
That's what I
Good.
was saying. What do you
Good.
believe?
What do you believe in?
Well,
That so I
Yeah,
can for
that's
me it
good.
means one way. Kundalini looks one way to me. I use that language again to go back to that because that's how it felt. But nonetheless, it is an
Yeah.
opening of a portal.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if we're going to be honest with ourselves at an individual level, we all must show up at our individual level, and then collectively
Sure.
that wire that we're talking about popping that you mentioned earlier will not pop because there's many of us, and that's why there's 4 of us sitting here, or maybe more counting everybody that's here. When we put together, that particular line will not be blown because we're all collectively here,
Right.
and we're here by our free will,
Exactly.
which is also very important. We must we
Oh,
must
very.
respect our free will when we're doing this search.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
the language might be
And
one for
I-
me. Go ahead. You were
Well,
going to ask
what
a question?
I was going to say, kind of.
Sorry.
What I was going to say in conjunction to what you're saying is yes, find out what they believe and be aware when we ask them, what do you believe? While we honor their beliefs, we do need to recognize, and maybe even, or let me just say, it's ideal if we recognize that many people are believing what they've been taught to believe, brainwashed, programmed to believe.
Programming.
So in conjunction with asking them, what do you believe, we might want to ask, what would you like to believe?
That's
Then
a good
you
one,
begin
Gardenia.
to energize what they want rather than continuing generation after
Yeah.
generation being programmed, because grandmother and great-grandmother, all of them were programmed. But we do have within our imagination every possible, let's call it parallel reality, every joy we may ever want to experience. And the only way we're going to experience is to think, what would I love to believe? What would I love to see happen? What would be my favorite feeling right now? And if we can get people to start feeling that, they can change their quantum field, and the external will reflect that change. And when they are drawing in through a portal something that they don't like, it's, to me, advisory to say, look at what you're seeing. It is a reflection of something in you. Change that thing within you so that externally you will be more embraced by what you love.
Gardenia, did we just become best friends? We just became best friends.
We became best friends. I love you. I love you.
You know, do you mind? Can I just give another piece of, I guess, another 2 cents piece of advice for people? You know, one of the things that I think a lot of people discount, people who just have vivid dreams and they think their dreams are crazy, and they just like, oh yeah, I just met a girl the other day and she was telling me about her crazy dreams, and I'm like, you know, you're having visitations, right? I think that if people have to understand that we live in a society on Earth that is filled with distractions. Everything is about distracting and moving at a quick pace, and a lot of it. And Wendy, you touched on this earlier. The only way they can get to us is through our dream state. So when we are dreaming and we wake up and something sticks with us, like that one part that you get that image that maybe even sticks with you throughout the day, there is a communication that is trying to happen, whether it's from your own psyche to clear a path, or whether it's from an ancestor, or whether it's from beings. I've talked about my experiences with beings in my dreams. So I think we need to start taking our dreams a little bit more seriously, rather than discounting them as like, oh, I had a burrito at late night and it was speaking. That's not the case at all. No. And I think people can start there as an entry point. Do you have vivid dreams? Start taking them a little more seriously and see what's happening there, and then that will expand, and that might be a good point of entry. You know?
Okay, we've had people like Deepak Chopra.
Yes.
How do you feel about Deepak Chopra, Wendy?
Oh wow, that's a loaded question.
Speak your truth, Wendy.
Oh wow,
Speak
you
your
hit
truth.
me. You hit me. So I want to say
we need help.
We do need help.
Okay.
So with Deepak Chopra, I loved Deepak Chopra.
Okay.
He has become, I want to say, a little problematic and a little bit controversial. Part of our deprogramming is being able to understand the honesty and the truth of that, the authenticity, because I don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. There was a lot of good stuff there. However, part of our journey here is to get authentic, to be moral, to be just. That's what the alien beings or the extraterrestrials are all about.
Oh, is that right? Oh,
Yeah.
So David Wilcock and David Icke and Corey Good, they talk about the law of one. Do you know much about that?
I
Okay.
do,
All right.
but
But in essence, then,
Yes.
if we're talking about the Palladians, the tall whites, the blue avians, the
Arcturians.
Arcturians,
Lyrians.
and we can go on and on with many names, the insectoids, the Dracos, the ones who are on the good side of life.
right.
Are we talking about going back to what Jesus and Krishna and Buddha were talking about, love of humanity?
Yes.
Like, okay, let's talk about that.
That is the baseline frequency for the other dimensions that are coming online.
Okay.
The fifth, the sixth, the seventh. There is a baseline of heart energy, honest energy, love energy. And I know that love is like overrated. Unity, absolutely unity.
Right.
So they will meet us there. I don't want to say that there's somebody judging us the way that we think of the word judge, because it's got kind of like a negative connotation. But there is again, a baseline, and that's what will be met. One of the things that we talked about that I don't want to forget is Dana's talking about dreams and all of this thing of the entry point. An entry point could also be where we are taking a drive somewhere, a mundane drive, and we have a visitation there, an abduction.
Yeah.
We're met there at that space. If that's what is going to be a necessary step in the progression of things, that's where they'll meet us as well.
Well, I can talk about Betty and Barney Hill and on and on.
Yes.
Many of them.
Yes.
They were abducted. That was 1960. Right? Why was that so evident in terms of some people beginning to say there is a possibility that we have been abducted? How would you identify that?
So the way that I'm interpreting that as another entry point.
Okay.
At that time, they don't know what we know now and how much we've been able to discuss. These are topics that you could not discuss back in the day.
No.
Now, I could also bring in the racial controversy of that too. So that was breaking more than just one wall. That was breaking a lot of social programs, social programming in our mind, the way that we framed it, the conversation among that. And now we're adding in this abduction. And so you're breaking reality in a sense and allowing for that crack to come in, for the light to come in and show. So that's what I believe they were here for. They were the ones that broke in a crack. And I get you, they're one of many different people who have kind of broken the
mold.
the mold, the
yeah.
seal. The seal is
Yeah,
more like what I
yeah,
was thinking. So that is important so that it could facilitate where we are now. And so who's to say that what we're doing right now will not fast accelerate us? And that's what I feel. I felt personally, I can speak from my experience, the last 2 days have been an acceleration in a rate that I can't put into words. But I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure everybody at some point when they've come to that spot, they'll find that, oh my God, you can't believe that over the last week, how much I just picked up, or the book that you can't put down, or the movie that you started to watch. You were mentioning about a series of it being X amount of hours long. When you're thirsty, you will drink.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
When you're thirsty, you will drink,
Yes.
and it will find you there.
Okay. How would people get in touch with you to get some contact with the other side? You talk to the other side?
Yes,
Oh,
I
yeah.
do.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. And that's a lot of people don't believe that. That you could even possibly talk to the other side. I'm just saying that.
No, you're absolutely on point. I've had conversations with people that I've never met. And all of a sudden, messages coming through, and I'm telling them, and they're looking at me. I had one lady that literally gave me a testimonial. She's like, "How did you know that? I've only prayed this to God."
Let's do this. Let's say if we're talking to gardenia.
Okay.
Do you know anything about gardenia?
I know nothing about Gardenia. Never met her before.
Right.
Never
Good.
met her before.
But can you do any reading?
Yes, I can. All right. So, Gardenia, I got message for you. This is going to be really good.
Okay.
So, Gardenia, I want to say that you are, please understand, I'm using the best verbiage I can. You're of the old guard. There's an exchange of old guard, but your piece is so necessary to speak to the people who understand your language. We often say, like, for example, I speak Spanish. All right. So, but my Spanish, my Cuban Spanish, is going to sound different than a Puerto Rican Spanish. It's a dialect.
Right.
So it's the same thing with Gardenia. Gardenia is speaking our dialect of contact.
Okay.
Alrighty, the same way that you have a dialect with your experience and the way that you're able to articulate it. So it's the same thing with me.
I
It's the same
agree
thing
with you. I think you're absolutely right, and I'm open to hear more. I've even invented a name for the language that I speak, and it's called powernyms. Antonyms are opposites, and the language I speak from the old guard it's called powernyms. How to use words to bring greater and greater power in your life. And you are right from the old guard. I'm with Earl Nightingale and all of those Maxwell Maltz way back in the 40s and 50s. So everything you're saying is true.
The John Maxwells, the Les Browns, and all that. But
Yep.
could you take another minute and finish with that?
Sure. So we're all going to be receiving those messages and those words. So in the sense of Gardenia, so Gardenia comes to hold that space. I see a lot of white energy. There's a lot of white ray energy there. Then I want to make it a little bit more broad to bring in Max. So Max, you have your own beings that you're hearing and that will contact you. It's going to sound different, but each of our components are very important to be able to make it as a whole.
Okay, great. I appreciate that. Dana,
Good.
We have a minute.
Yeah.
2 minutes. You take a minute. You've written some serious books.
Yeah.
Okay, can you tell us what they entail and how they can get those books?
You know, I appreciate
Right.
you asking because
But
I think
we do need help.
I think my books are like the perfect action plan to everything we're talking about. The
entry
theme
point.
of this conversation over the last hour has been about, find your entry port, meet you where you are. It's about energy, frequency, vibration. So the 3 books, it's called the 10 Rex Trilogy. And let me tell you, I've got them on paperback, ebook, audiobook.
Yes.
Like I'm like,
Love the
you know,
audiobook.
you don't want to
Yes.
read it, listen to it. You don't want to read it in a book, you could do the ebook. But the first book is called 10 Commandments for Personal Empowerment, and it's really about bringing yourself, like clearing the guck, and bringing yourself back into alignment. I always say getting your head out of your behind, right? But and I tell these stories, and it's very, very easy as far as like it's very I connect with you on a personal level. I almost just ate my mic and I like had it way in my face.
Right.
The follow-up to it is when people become more aligned, when they get their foundation in order, all of a sudden this spiritual stuff starts to happen.
How can they get those? Have we up to 10 seconds?
Oh, how can we get those? Go to ubuntufishgallery.com. If
Where?
you go to my website, Ubuntu, UBUNTU.
Okay, we have 50 seconds.
Okay.
And I'd like to get the young lady who committed
Buy my books.
another hour to be with us.
Thank you,
got
Gardenia.
take
Thank
30
you.
seconds and wrap it up. I'm talking
Gardenia.
Yes.
30 seconds.
Oh, love. That is the answer. Love it, feel it. Not just love others, but become love itself.
Yes.
Okay.
Great.
Well, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Gardenia, and thank you,
Max,
Wendy, for
Max.
joining us.
Thank you, Wendy. I appreciate
Thank you.
Just Wendy, holisticblessings.com with a W.
Okay.
Holisticblessings.com.
Max, wrap it up.
Yes.
15 seconds.
We'll see you next week on another episode of Lights in the Night. Thank you for joining us for this special episode, and to our guests and to the studio. And can't wait to see what we're going to talk about
Same
next.
place, same time next week. Right
See you
here.
next week.
The Lights in the Night. Thank you.
The lights are fading, but the mystery remains.
Join us next time on Lights in the Night. Same time, same darkness.
Until then, keep looking up.
The night is watching.
Lights in the night, where the